Recorded in their mother's basement, Super Nerdland brings you Graded Point 5, where in a comic book it would be worth less than the polybag it comes in.
Hey everybody, welcome to Graded Point 5, with our new improved sound system. Look at this shit, it's awesome.
We went to Circuit City and everything.
Well,
is my tin can set up right, boys?
Yeah. It'll only get better once we, all got voice meter and shit. I'll talk to the higher-ups and have that set up within the week, hopefully.
Talk to the bosses. IT department on it.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm your host, Jason. With me are the usual idiots again. We got Dick.
Hey.
Hey.
We got Evan.
Hey.
Hey.
And we got Big Papa Pump Wayne.
Look, you son of a bitch. I'm sorry, I reverted there. I'm sorry. I had a flashback. Yeah, I'm okay.
So, We're on week 3 of this Hellboy stuff, guys. This week is a little bit different, though. It's Volume 3, The Chained Coffin and Others. But unlike the first two, we're looking at a lot of background shit about the characters and world building through a bunch of short stories.
Sorry, I just wanted to pour on the recording because I thought that'd be classy.
Only if it's beer.
Close enough.
Your beer.
I've been told if I drink enough of this stuff, it will kill me, so.
Oh, it's donut puree. Okay.
No.
Oh.
Well, it is Mountain Dew, so it might as well be. So.
For your fucking health, man.
Yeah, gotta go sometime. Might as well be now.
Well, so yeah, all this stuff is done, written and drawn by Mike Mignola with 3 different colorists. Was it James Sinclair, Matthew Hollingsworth, and Dave Stewart?
Yeah, the great Dave Stewart.
Yep. And there's 5 or 6 different frickin' stories here, at least.
Yeah, 150 odd pages. This was a rough read in the hour before this, I'll tell you guys.
It's not like it's your first time reading it, though.
No, it's my 3rd or 4th.
Oh, you read it an hour before?
Yeah. I'm reading very
it
well
now.
prepared, boys.
Because I got messed up today, so.
Oh, it's all good. We know how
I'll be able to follow along. Yeah.
How your current situation is and all that.
Yeah.
Sometimes life gets in the way of the important things.
Like the podcast.
Reading comics.
Like I said, I will definitely be reading along while y'all talk about it. Probably the best thing to do.
Good. We'll get a fresh reaction then.
Yeah.
So,
Got to figure it out.
Evan, you want to just take this one story at a time?
Yeah, let's take it one story at a time. There's kind of a lot of material, though. We sure we even want to,
Oh, I don't want to go through, the stories, background and all that shit. I'm thinking...
Yeah.
We just do an overview of
what's happening?
Yeah, overview of what it adds to the Hellboy universe.
Okay. Our first story takes place in Ireland, presumably.
Yep.
And we get to see that a lot of the old English-Irish folk tales are true in the Hellboy universe. So our Witches of Thessaly, our Hecate, our Rasputin, and the Baba Yaga, we're pulling influences from all over the world. And this particular set of stories has a lot of Irish influence. So our first story tells about a baby that's been kidnapped. Hellboy, using a horseshoe of iron, reveals the imposter child and is told by a goblin, more or less.
No, it's not a goblin, that's a fairy.
Okay, a fairy, more or less, what he's told to do, or what he has to do to save the baby. And what he has to do is bury a talking corpse.
What I should say is it's one of the Fae, considering the Fae are a conglomeration of a bunch of different races.
Yeah. Well, they're little goblin-looking fuckers.
Yeah.
If you've played World of Warcraft, they've sold you shit. Yeah, so Hellboy's got a corpse to drag around, more or less. He's got an albatross around his neck that he's got to bury. And every set of grave sites that he goes to tell him that there's no room there. And because Hellboy is a respectful boy, he doesn't try to bury him anyway. So he wanders around for a bit until he finds a proper gravesite, and he is interrupted by a giant beast man. Am I missing anything yet?
No, you're... Well, other than like Jenny Green Teeth, but that's kind of a side
We'll
thing.
mention her in a moment.
Well, she comes before the beast thing.
Well, she comes before the beast thing, but she doesn't... Hellboy doesn't know about her until after. So he fights this big, ugly beast guy, and finds his poor corpse severed after his fight with the beast. He hits him with an amulet over and over and over again, and that shrinks the beast from massive to pitifully small. And he realizes that the corpse has its arm stolen. He dives under the water to steal it from Jenny Green Teeth, and throws the dude in an empty grave and rescues the baby. Well, good fae sort of fly around it.
Having apparently, I like how much it brings in of the Irish folklore. Like they even reference Cuchulainn. Mm-hmm. And there's this stuff I've read about over the years, and it's just interesting to see it played out in a fictional setting. Mm-hmm. Where Mike Mignola can kind of fudge it a bit.
We get some of my favorite art in the series. Anytime Hellboy's underwater, I love this shit. You can sort of see all of the like you sort of if you read any of Mignola's Submariner line, it is Submariner, right? It's not Aquaman.
Was it
Namor
for Marvel?
that he wrote.
Was it for Marvel?
Yeah, it was for Marvel.
It was Submariner.
I was just gonna say, is it good?
It's okay. It's
Killed Wayne.
Submariner.
Well, no, it's just, if it's good, it's definitely not Aquaman.
Okay. Okay, I see where this is going.
Got him.
Yeah, no, you sort of see some of the stuff that you saw in his Submariner in this, and that's really cool to me. You see it like almost 10 years later, 15 years later from when he wrote or drew in Submariner.
One of the things I loved about this is just I read it, and bringing in the Fae and all the Irish folklore and everything like that really got me excited, because I knew there was a whole bunch of short stories in here, so I was excited to see what other things were blended on, and some of the other stories are some of my other favorite bits of folklore from other various places and things like that. And it was just very, since this was my first time reading through, it was very exciting to see this and be like, oh, wonder what else is in store for me,
Which myths and fables are fables that exist in the Hellboy universe? Which ones don't? That sort of thing.
Yeah, it's cool because it opens a lot of stuff for potential stories later on and everything, and just all sorts of things that he can kind of borrow from without directly stealing anything, because he puts his own twist on it, and I love that about Mignola.
And I like how it kind of brings about this feeling that of pantheism. All religions are equally true. All folklore is equally true.
There is, even if it's not dead on, there's elements of truth in the folk tales.
Yeah.
I love that. We want to move on to the second story?
Yeah, the Iron Shoes, yeah.
Very short, the Iron Shoes. It's pretty much an excuse for Hellboy to have a fight scene with, like, the gremlin from Terror at 20,000 Feet, except he's got giant iron shoes on. And there's a really great gag where the Iron Shoes beast jumps out of a window and Hellboy has him grabbed, but because the thing's got iron shoes, Hellboy gets pulled out the window with him. But yeah, it's a really straightforward story. It's a little fight scene with that little interesting twist, and then Hellboy brings him to a church, throws him on the ground, and he shatters into a million pieces. It's like a 4-pager.
I think it's like
Nice.
all of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pages, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, but it's a sweet little short story that, you know, hits on all of the fun elements in Hellboy. Fighting shit, meeting mythological creatures, talking to priests.
Beating up mythological creatures.
Uh-huh.
I have a question.
This isn't an
Jump out
insult.
at you? No, go ahead.
I was gonna say this isn't an insult or anything, but this is basically the Hellboy elevator pitch.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did we ever discover why Ireland joined the Axis powers? Oh wait, that's the wrong. Sorry.
Oh man. Our next story is really great. It talks about my favorite figure, or favorite of the mythological figures in all of Hellboy, which is the Baba Yaga.
Yep.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, it's literally the Baba Yaga.
Yeah, I love this character and the story. Mignola does the myth justice, and it's satisfactory. Like, it's very weird. It's satisfactorily weird. And in this particular story, Hellboy, to protect the dead, help me out. My memory's a little bit shaky.
He just
Help the old woman because he helps old.
yeah, basically. Yeah, he just starts out like in a graveyard being called to, hey, you gotta check this shit out for me, kind of thing.
Yeah, so he checks this shit out and shoots the Baba Yaga in the eye with his new pistol. And she loses her eye, like we mentioned in last week's tale. And like I mentioned last week, all of the animals come out and talk about Baba Yaga. So I mentioned that they play an important role, and they show up symbolically a lot in the Mignola work, at least in the Hellboy series. And all of Russia's animals show up here to talk about the death quote of the Baba Yaga. And I think that's, like, seeing the bear drawing is one of my favorite. It's one of my favorite drawings in all of the Hellboy.
And of course, even though this is in Volume 3, it's a real good setup to the events of Volume 2.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Jason, you were mentioning that this one came out after?
Well, I was reading the little blurb he wrote at the start of it, or Mike Mignola wrote, and he said he originally planned to do it as a backup in Monkey Man and O'Brien, the miniseries that Art Adams did. Okay. But art took longer than expected, so Mike kind of put it on the back burner.
Wait, Art Adams take longer than expected? What are you talking about? That would never happen. The comic book artist most famous for taking his sweet ass time.
So
I just got to a meme part where I know you guys usually post this online on Twitter.
What do we usually post on Twitter, Wayne?
Where the old lady thinks that Hellboy is Santa Claus.
Oh yeah, we that I've been known to shitpost that particular image before. Yes.
But what's interesting is Mignola specifically did the Baba Yaga story for this collection, having had no other place to put it, you know?
Yeah, with so many of these, especially the shorter ones, being released in stuff like Dark Horse Presents, it's really interesting to see something get like the full treatment, even if it's this short, in terms of the art and the story and all the respect that one of the greatest mythological creatures, Baba Yaga, deserves. With her bitch chicken leg house.
Which brings us on to our next story, A Christmas Underground.
This is a weird one.
Yeah, it took me like a couple readings to really get a handle on it.
Yeah, this is a strange one. We've got an old woman on her deathbed, and we're told that her daughter wandered into the cemetery alone at night, and then one night she disappeared, and there's been doom on this house ever since. And
Hellboy Santa Claus.
Yeah, Hellboy Santa Claus. So on the woman's deathbed, the mom's deathbed, he says, "Look, I'll go try to save your daughter." And she confuses him for Santa.
Hey, he's trying to bring her a gift, right? I mean,
Yeah, he is delivering her a gift on Christmas. So Hellboy wanders into the gravestones. A mouse tells him not to head down. A crying woman's bust, tells him not to progress, and we get this really, really strange, almost Mucha-esque, like 1920s Art Deco style woman greet Hellboy. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like a minimalist Art Deco? Or as
Yeah.
minimalist as Mignola is? And she greets him, tells him that her prince will come, and we hear that she's been more or less trapped down here in the cemetery with the promise of marriage to a king, or the second son of a king. And Hellboy keeps trying to remember her, or remind her of her family, and get her to remember her past. And they have a little shadow ball going on. Kind of creepy. And Hellboy gives her a cross, bids her Merry Christmas. A bunch of fire explodes, and we end up with a what's the hand called, Jason, with all the fire on it?
And with all the Hellboy's hand?
What's it called? No, there's a hand on the table.
Oh.
All of the fingers have fire. There's a name for this.
I don't know that, honestly. I know what you're talking about. I'm just like,
yeah, I probably
at a loss.
need to watch The Wicker Man again, because there's a really great scene in The Wicker Man with the hand like that.
Which version?
But yeah, the good one.
Okay.
There's only one Wicker Man movie, dude. I'm sorry, Nicolas Cage.
But they're in his ass.
The bees. Alright, so enough shitting on Nick Cage, please.
And I love this one panel towards the end of the story. It's just Hellboy literally punching the head off of somebody. Just, big fucking right hand of doom, just bam.
Hey, sometimes
Really
you just
great
get tired of
action
that
scene.
shit,
And the whole thing with the ring turning it into the salamander.
And he grabs it and he gets lit up. It's great.
Snapping it. Yeah, so it turns out Hellboy's in the evil vision dream, and with the help of the prayers from the priest, he manages to confront the rat demon who had bewitched the daughter, and he kills the shit out of it. After getting beaten up a little bit, it's a Hellboy fight, so the face is gonna make that comeback at the end. And the old woman dies. The house gets lit on fire and the demon gets knocked underground. That's a pretty satisfactory story of the week ending. For what I'm guessing was the Dark Horse Christmas special.
Yeah. And the demon gets finally killed by the church bells for a Christmas midnight mass.
Yeah, I forgot about that. That's really good. Yeah, so Christianity's got power in Hellboy's universe. The fucking Baba Yaga's got power in Hellboy's universe. It's really compelling, the magic and spiritualism elements. Give me 1 second. Do you want to start previewing the Chained Coffin?
Yeah. God. Dark Horse Presents number 195. Wow. I miss Dark Horse Presents. Yeah, we start off with a letter from Hellboy to Abe Sapien. Kind of just going and saying, talking about his past and trying to figure out his past. And has a dream about an old woman on her deathbed, afraid of the devil because she sold her soul and doing a deathbed repentance, trying to say, if you can save me from the devil for 3 days, he won't take my soul. So it's Hellboy against something akin to the devil.
But is it even... Okay, I'm back. Is it even Hellboy against the devil? As we go on, we just see that it's a vision and that he doesn't actually have much say in this world. And the demon that gets summoned looks an awful lot like Hellboy. He's a very big man. He's got the 2 giant horns that Hellboy's cut off. And he's got a similar sort of like monkey face to Hellboy. Mm-hmm. And he manages to defeat the priest and nun who are protecting this woman in her chained coffin, hence the name of the title, or hence the title. And we see more or less that the demon, fries the priest and the nun. There's a really great panel when that happens where it looks like the cross that's on the coffin, it looks more like an inverted cross with the chains obscuring the top of the coffin, or the bottom of the cross, such that it's greatly shortened. And that's echoed with the snapping crosses and the inverted cross on the next page that make major focus. I think that's really cool. Good art style right there, suggesting the devil is in power in this particular circumstance. And the devil pretty much says, you were my girl, you were always my girl, and you're going to be my girl forever. You got a child within you to be born that we conceived all those years ago when you asked for my power, and that child will be my son. And
my favorite son.
He looks at Hellboy, as does his horse.
Which, mind you, this is all in a vision, which means even visions have some sort of power, even if they're visions of the past. Implying this is actually Hellboy's mother.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a witch who repented on her deathbed.
That's a good ending there, too. I'm on that part.
Oh, yeah. Back at Bureau headquarters, Abe Sapien dreams of fish.
Yeah, it's just like... Well, what does Fishman
Hellboy's
dream about?
dreaming about his past, and Abe's dreaming about his future. Or his past.
Or his lunch.
Yeah.
I mean, it really...
Pretty complex guy. Oh. Yeah, I mean, that's one of my favorite stories in this whole collection.
Like that story combined with the events at the beginning of the first volume really serve as like a 2-part origin story for Hellboy. In a way.
Yeah, for a character who we very deliberately don't learn a lot about. That's pretty much what we get for his origin story. What's more important is going to become his upbringing story and his, the story of his adulthood, where his origin is left a little bit more obscured. Even this is pretty obscure.
And it really plays up a key idea of Hellboy, which really is, the nature versus nurture idea.
Mm-hmm.
A character that, for all intents and purposes, by nature, should be, the destroyer of mankind. The instrument of the...
Very deliberately pulling himself back from that edge. Trying to be as human as he can. I think that's like one of the main themes of the whole series is Hellboy fighting for his humanity and what it means to actually be human. And what was I going to say? Yeah, it's probably enough for now. We'll learn more about Hellboy and humanity and like the struggle with your destiny. This one's really pretty. This final story, or second to last story.
Before we get into that, I just want to say about the last story. I love how it is basically a 2-part origin story, but it's just vague enough that it's what you would expect, and that's not a bad thing. You know what I mean? It's an interesting story, but his origin story is no more complex than you would think. It's just enough to explain him existing and not anything terribly important, because it's the forward motion of the character that's important.
Yeah.
Yeah, great point. Wayne, what did you think about that one? You think it was real pretty?
It was very nice looking.
Now, this next one's actually my favorite in the book, though.
Yeah?
Actually, detective work.
Why is that?
I've always loved the mythology of the werewolf. And all the variations thereon, Mm-hmm. And just seeing Hellboy literally just running around with werewolves and shit.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet, right?
Yeah.
So what's going on in this story? Go ahead.
And it really plays up one of my favorite kind of background characters in Kate Corrigan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Kate's amazing. She's... I guess I'll give like a little spiel about Kate. She's one of the main characters in the BPRD series. And with Hellboy... In this particular case, she's relatively... I don't want to say she's relatively new. He calls her kid. But I think that's because he calls, like, everybody their kid.
It's because he's older than most of them.
Yeah, I mean, he was a baby in 1940. And he's been in the BPRD since he was 5. So... Demons grow up fast, turns out.
But they have a very long... They mature to full really early, but they have that middle section of their life takes for fucking ever.
Yeah, that mental maturation.
Yeah. That and they just like...
maturation we're all struggling with.
They grow to like a 20-year-old body real quick and then just stay that way at their physical, what would be the physical peak for a human.
Mm-hmm. So in this story, we cue off with a priest talking to a particularly shady-looking man, and the priest is wondering how God could let this happen to his people. The shady-looking man says, "Go away, priest. God's not here. He left. This place doesn't have God anymore." And they walk together through the inside of a castle. This is the private chapel of the Grenier family. And when this all is going on, we see that the dead family are all lycanthropes in their corpses, and the shady-looking man is not a man, but a wereman. I mean, werewolf.
No, he's a wereman. He just turns into another man.
He turns into a scarier man.
It's like, he's like in his 20s normally. Full moon hits, he turns into a 45-year-old guy.
Hairy fucking chest and everything.
Man bun for some reason.
Yeah. With like the Austin Powers this Austin Powers tuft. A fucking wereman. So every man, woman, and child in the village is killed, which is why Hellboy and Kate are called in. And yeah, we get some classic Mignola mug shots. And they more or less just keep talking about the history. This one is pretty talk heavy, but it actually, it serves its purpose in this one. It serves us like a stronger backstory. Knowing this is a mini-series, I don't mind it as much as I usually do. Did you guys mind the text in this one that much?
No, because it built up Kate in relatively quick fashion.
Not only that, but it also felt justified and felt like it was well used this time. Volume 2, the text was a little bit much, but I feel like in this one it was used better. I feel like it was better written and better focused.
Yeah, and it in the first couple books it felt like okay, this is gonna make me sound like a bigger nerd than I actually am, but it sounds like the RPG. Like the role-playing game setting up the main story, where it's like vague, and then this is like the really tightly crafted dungeon or sequence type thing in an RPG, where you're like, this is why I'm playing this game. The main story's cool, but like I'm playing this game for the sweet side stories. The Nier
exactly.
Automata effect. So Hellboy figures out that this house was part of a royal family that more or less made a deal with the fertility god, and were cursed to transform into wolves every 7 years. And to dodge the Inquisition, they renamed the town. They let the royal family renamed the town. In all the reports, the town got named, but not the family there. So the town destroyed everything on or hid their origins on purpose. And Kate and Hellboy go exploring. And of course we get the classic Hellboy, be careful, the floor isn't that stable. And all of a sudden the floor falls through. Because what would a Hellboy book be if somebody didn't fall through a floor or out a window?
Or both.
Or both. In the case of the Hecate arc. Hecate. Wow. Brain. So, Kate falls through the floor, sees a ghost. It's a werewolf ghost. Hellboy rushes to protect her, and she is legitimately shook. And that sort of, if you're familiar with Kate from later parts of Hellboy or from DPRD, Kate being shook is not something that you're used to.
Like, honestly,
it's not something that you like.
I came at all this backwards. I've read a lot of BPRD, but I haven't read until this any solo Hellboy stuff. So seeing early Kate is kind of interesting to me.
Yeah, seeing somebody who you know is like a legit badass.
Yeah.
It's interesting to see where she is in like 1994, which is what year this is supposed to take place, versus where she is in like even 1998 in later stories. She picks up pretty quick.
Yeah, she kind of gets her
through the catacombs.
She gets her trial by fire here.
Yeah, she's freaking out. She's running through the catacombs with Hellboy. There's wolf ghosts everywhere. And Hellboy intuits that they're just trying to keep them in the catacombs here because the real threat is not the ghosts, but rather the man in wolf. Well, the wolf in man's clothing.
Skin, whatever.
Yeah, we get some pretty sweet visuals here with the undead priest screaming "Help me" and turning into a skeleton, and the tall ass motherfucker dark vampire dude, the Grenier Prince, who's still alive 800 years later, standing there buck ass naked with a little dong or testicle pouch hanging out, trying to fuck up Hellboy. And right after that,
So I wasn't the only one who noticed that. Okay.
I mean, it is right there for everybody to see, dude.
right
Behold my mighty dong, you know?
Yeah.
Right after he shows you his mighty dong, he cuts a vagina into his forehead and births a wolf out of it. I definitely noticed that. Yeah, and then this motherfucker's a giant beast. So Hellboy does what Hellboy does.
It gets his ass beat for a couple pages.
Yeah, punches it once, gets his ass beat for a couple pages, and then he makes his comeback. And in this case, it takes him falling onto an altar. And, well, no, he gets his ass beat for a few more pages after that. It's more like 6 pages of Hellboy getting his ass beat. Then he throws a rock and the thing.
No, it's the head from a fucking statue.
Oh, he throws the head from a statue at this motherfucker's eye.
Takes his eye out.
And takes his eye out and then stabs him in the chest with a giant cross. So, yeah, breaks it in the dude's back. One of the coolest little text swacks in all, like, I love when Mignola does the, like, little word work, because it doesn't happen that often, the sound effects, but when it does, it drives me nuts. So, yeah, he manages to slay this werewolf. And
I love that one panel where you see Grenier lift his hand up and there's a cross behind it. The whole thing's done in like very subdued colors and blacks, very Mignola, but very this powerful image. Like a man who's been cursing God the entire story, reaching out for the cross on his deathbed.
yeah, not reaching it.
Yeah,
Looming over him, rather. Yeah, it looming entirely over him and ultimately physically crushing him. I freaking love this. Yeah, he disintegrates under the weight of it. Really, really, really cool. Yeah, that might be my favorite in this series. Or this mini-series here.
and the next one's actually my second favorite.
Oh, yeah? You want to take this one? Because I don't remember it that well.
It's a follow-up to the events, I think it was Volume 2, where Liz accidentally starts up a fucking golem.
Yeah, sort of accidentally, sort of on purpose.
And they start with, Liz is dying because of starting up the golem. And, Abe still got his arm broke from the events of the second volume. And they're, trying to come to terms with the fact that Liz is dying, and they don't really know what to do about it. And
she's chain smoking, and I want a cigarette.
Dude, I'm smoking one right now, so.
Smoke. Fucker.
So, Hellboy and Kate out investigating some really fucking weird shit going down. And we see, and we see a golem, which is the golem from Volume 2. Except for now he's able to talk and reason. And has his own personality. And he's met by another golem who is wearing a pillowcase for a head. Or over his head, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know...
Oh, look at that, the floor collapsed
motherfucking
again.
lightning.
Yep.
In that story you're talking about, yeah, the floor just collapsed again because
Because it's a Hellboy story.
It's Hellboy. Yeah. It's a Hellboy story, dude. The floor's gotta collapse. I'm sorry.
No floor left uncollapsed. No window left unbroken through.
No scenery left undestroyed. Well, some scenery left undestroyed, but like, you know, lots of scenery left very much destroyed. So we get to hear about the homunculi and their backstory.
Yeah.
Sweet.
And the one golem is an evil sumbitch.
Who killed his creator.
Yep, killed his creator and now wants to continue and expand upon his work.
The creators or the killing of the creator?
But he wants to expand upon what the creator started with.
Okay,
like-
and that's why he finds
Yeah.
this golem.
He's like, yeah. It turns out the golems are brothers. And the elder of the two is like, hey, we can do some really cool shit with the stuff we already know about how we were created. Let's go some steps further.
Let's make a Voltron homunculus.
Yeah, right? So Hellboy and Kate, you know, track down where they think stuff's going on. And, of course, the floor collapses. There's a bunch of little goblin-looking things. Yeah. There is no such thing as stable flooring in Hellboy.
No, you'll find this is a theme. It's a very important theme for activating action.
Meantime, Liz
Like a
is...
great
yeah.
D&D session. Like a great D&D session. You gotta get caught in the traps. You can't just walk by those. You can't just detect those traps and disarm them and walk by them. Oh no, you gotta jump right through them.
Or fall.
Or fall. And take D20 fall damage. But still.
Meantime, Liz is straight up dying in front of Abe.
Yep. Kate's straight up dying in front of Hellboy.
And some really helpful skeletons lead Hellboy to this giant fucking forge. Where the evil golem is making Voltron golem.
And I like how nonplussed he was about, you know, skeletons just started talking to him.
Oh, dude. Wait till you see him go drinking with skeletons.
Yeah, I'm scrolling. Yeah, I'm down to that part where they pretty much get to the part where they fight the golem. You know, the mega golem.
Yeah.
And, you know, the golem is all like, yeah, this is the power of God. You know, you think you can flee from God. You know, sneak, crawl, burrow the earth. The odds of God are upon you. And then Hellboy says, sure, now hold that thought. And he throws a tree at him. He says, gotcha, now God has a tree in his neck.
So
Hellboy has that. He likes to have that little last little piece of banter, doesn't he?
He's so good at it.
Yeah.
That dumb one-liner that, you know, the spider or the shadow has to say, or the green hornet even has to say. That's the sort of line Hellboy has to say.
And so Hellboy's literally getting his ass handed to him by a fucking gigantic golem dude. And the other golem's just like, you know... No.
Yeah, I'm not sure you're any better than me.
Yeah.
I'm not sure you're any better than humans, you asshole.
So he dives into the big golem. apparently short circuits it more or less and turns into boiling human fat.
Yeah, he grabs hold of Liz's fire within the giant golem and contains it within himself to destroy the other golem. And yeah, Hellboy punches him a bit and basically says, "Look, you asshole, you stole this fire from my friend. You're gonna give it back to her whether you like it or not. Also, your name's Roger now."
Yep. So he takes Roger back to where Liz is, and Liz has literally just died a couple minutes ago. And then Hellboy's like, "Listen, nobody's dead around here until I say so, you hear me?"
Punch. Yeah, I'm not gonna jerk around with this guy. The clock's ticking. Yeah.
Hellboy's got to be off the clock at 5 p.m. sharp. So he's rushing to get through. Yeah, so the homunculus puts his hands on Liz's chest. The fire is restored in her, and Roger's body's left in a heap with open chest cavity and giant dong cover sitting there. Man, I'm fixated on the fucking private parts today, guys.
Dong's in my comic, brother, HH.
I like this too. I got to the part where he calls him Roger for the first time.
Yeah.
He goes, "Okay, Roger, give her the juice," and they go, "Yeah, Roger," and then she just responds, "Hellboy named him in the car."
Like he's a puppy.
Yeah. Okay, Roger, good boy, Roger.
And again, another character I really fucking love from BPRD, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Roger or Liz?
Roger.
Yeah, Roger's awesome. A man of all... He's... Okay, I won't do spoilers for BPRD, but he's one of the most interesting characters in the series because he doesn't... It's hard for him to find who he is. And that's something that you don't see in the Hellboy universe very much. Usually it's somebody fighting against being told what they are. Not having to figure that out on their own.
And so he's just
Roger's
like,
cool, though.
I am what I am, and that's all what I am.
Mm-hmm.
Popeye the Sailor Man.
Yeah,
Maybe that's it. Maybe Roger is Popeye. That would be interesting.
Eats a can of spinach. Arms go up to straight fucking 10. Punches a man through a wall who's 5 times his size. He pulls off some stuff like that.
But yeah.
So what do you guys think of the short stories?
Like I said at the top, I like how they fill in various parts of the lore to the comics.
It's refreshing to get so much backstory so quickly after reading the first 2 very focused comics, to get just this basically sort of smorgasbord of little small stories just to kind of fill in holes and stuff, and overall just get the bigger picture of what's going on, what's possible here. It got me excited to read more because there's a lot that could be taken away from this for excitement for future volumes and things like that, because it shows you, hey, there's a lot of interesting themes at play here. Here's kind of like a portfolio almost of what Hellboy entails, kind of a thing.
And it sets up 2 of my 3 favorite characters from BPRD.
Mm-hmm.
And for...
Who's the third?
I was about to say, Johan.
Okay, Johan. Yeah, he'll get set up soon. We'll meet him soon enough. Yeah, no, this is a really good short story collection. It gives us the background for Roger, which is one of my favorite. Yeah, he's definitely one of my favorite characters in the entire series. Like Dick said, fills in a bunch of the blanks for Hellboy. It sort of refines the Hellboy formula, so to speak. Makes it a little bit more monster of the weeky, and I think that actually really suits Hellboy as a medium.
And it kind of cements that not all the BPRD's cases are these big fucking world-ending scenarios. Sometimes they just got to go deal with the local threat, you know?
Yeah, your job is to go hang out with an old woman and make sure that her children's graves are unsullied. Well, less sullied, but still.
Or, you know, something so simple as, hey, can you save my baby from the Fae?
Yeah, I'll see what I can do. You know? Like... Yeah, no, and they're super pulpy. That's, like, even more pulpy than the long-form stuff. It feels... Yeah, Monster of the Week, I keep saying it, but it feels like, you know, you get, like, that 1960s radio... Or not even 1960s, 1920s, 30s radio play sort of feel to it, where we just go from action to... Or backstory right into the action, right into backstory, right back into action.
And it builds up a lot of Hellboy's humanity, because until, the first 2 volumes, you're only really seeing him interact with, like, the BPRD.
Mm-hmm.
But in this, you're seeing a lot more of Hellboy working, you know, with a green version of Kate, and, you know, all these random people. Sets up that he knows people all around the world from his deeds. He's made friends. Yeah. The priest and the wolf of St. August.
Mm-hmm.
So you kind of get the feeling that Hellboy has more connections to humans than just the BPRD. That his humanity isn't fully predicated on, like, Professor Broom and the BPRD,
mm-hmm.
but the world at large.
Right.
Yeah.
He raised his boy right. He's a little bit of a troublemaker sometimes. He's a hothead. He gets in over his head. But he's ultimately like a good, sweet, laconic boy.
But yeah.
So what was everyone's favorite story? I know Jason's was the
Wolves of St. August.
The Wolves of St. August. Yeah, that was a really good one. You have a favorite, Dick?
The Baba Yaga, that's one of my favorite mythological tales, and it was really interesting seeing this take on it.
Yeah, because your
favorite too.
Your ancestry's from that area of the world.
Yeah, I'm Slavic, so it's very interesting seeing what I heard as a story passed down through, you know, my family, as seeing it here as a comic with Hellboy and everything, and just how it was interpreted and everything. It's really cool, and, you know, did a lot of good stuff with it. It's a very interesting twist on it, and I loved it.
And the fact that he shot her in the face.
Yeah.
That too. That goes without saying, though. Come on now.
What about you, Wayne, considering you just got done reading them?
I think that last story was my... If I had to pick one.
I think
because it had, you know, like you said, it had giant Voltron homunculus and, you know, me and giant things.
I think that one most closely follows a more like the more traditional sort of comic formula, where you're like, somebody's in danger, we have to do something about it. Well, we have to rescue this woman's fire from a giant fire human thing. All right.
Made of human fat.
Yeah, let's print it.
So literally, Wayne, he's fat.
And this
Hey,
fat
Ditko,
son
can you draw that for us? Draw this fat son of a bitch.
He's fat. I make a bleed. Oh, boy, this kind of make a bleed. He hit him with a tree.
And I like there's the one part, like when Hellboy picks up the head to that statue and chucks it at Grenier's face and takes out his eye, and Kate's just like, why do you even bother with a gun?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you can fucking throw a head like a baseball. Oh, is that me cutting out or Wayne?
That was Wayne.
Yeah, if you can throw a head like a baseball, what's the point of ever using a bullet? If you can, pitch 100 miles an hour.
Right. So the question is, why didn't Hellboy just become a baseball player? He could hit that fastball, right? I mean,
Because he'd have to fucking swing with one hand.
Also,
would kill the catcher.
Yeah.
too. Come on.
catcher just winds up with a hole through his glove, hole through his chest, hole through the backstop.
yeah, though, I have a feeling the entire game would have to be like rewritten.
Yeah, Hellboy
like
can't play pitcher.
The catcher will now be in an armored vehicle.
And even then, it still has a high mortality rate.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're playing Blood Bowl, except it's baseball instead of football.
Right.
Just blowing up, man after man after man, with a giant demon dude.
The slaughter rule takes on a whole new meaning. But yeah.
This one, like all the other ones, has really cool art at the end, too.
Yeah, the little art.
See a whole bunch of different people's takes on Hellboy.
The art galleries are always like a huge little like treat at the end because you see all these people. Some you probably never even heard of. It's like, here's our version of
Going
Hellboy.
to draw Hellboy later.
Yep.
Like Duncan Fegredo is going to draw Hellboy later, quite often. Yeah, and we end with a sweet little quote from Clive Barker. Hellboy is a comic book masterpiece. Yeah, it's
From a man who gave us a character with nails in his face.
The original Pinhead is actually a her.
a woman with nails in her
I don't
face.
need your thing. I don't need your reasons and logic. Don't need it.
Yeah, it's a really enjoyable comic, though.
I had a good time.
Yeah, it was nice.
We got
Time before the podcast. It's during it.
yeah. Sometimes life has a habit of making you do that, though.
Mm-hmm.
I love it in Duncan Fegredo's image at the end. How there's like a Hellboy lady pinup.
Yeah, I saw that. That was neat.
He's reading Hellgirl magazine in a bathrobe, looking super fly.
Yeah. Va 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 voom.
Dumping his TL over the carpet.
Yeah, got a little French press on the table on a tea set. Kind of on a fucking rocket. Good style.
Oh shit.
And like each of the pictures in the background are interesting.
Yeah, Duncan Fegredo's awesome. Let's see, which series did he write? Yeah, so Fegredo drew for Hellboy. Was this not alphabetical? Oh, he drew Darkness Calls. Is that the one you own?
Yeah, that's the one I'm looking right at right now.
Yeah, he did Darkness Calls and The Wild Hunt, and The Storm and the Fury. So,
I think I've seen the animated adaptation of The Storm and the Fury, if I remember correctly.
yeah, that's one of the ones they did the animated adaptation for. So,
And you said The Wild Hunt, my ears immediately fucking perked up, because that's one of my favorite mythologies.
well, there might be a Wild Hunt in Hellboy. In fact, there definitely is a Wild Hunt.
I was about to say, you literally just said there was, so...
Yeah, no, it's one of the later books, but it's definitely one of the better Hellboy ones. It's obviously after Mignola's gotten off of the art. aspects of the series because like he was juggling BPRD, Hellboy. He didn't start AVAP yet, but there's like, yeah, you can't write like 10 different comics all at once and draw them and also do the covers. So yeah, we've got a little bit more focused writing later in the series, but still great art.
So yeah, so far, like 3 weeks, 3 volumes of Hellboy. Some pretty good stuff in here. Mm-hmm. As much as
It's been my favorite season so far, I'm not gonna lie.
And the fucked up part is if...
read fucking Superman. Brit. Oh my god.
The fucked up thing is, we could literally make an entire show just based around Hellboy and the BPRD.
Yeah, there's like a billion BPRD books, so...
Well, God, the first...
I disagree with that.
First BPRD was... God...
Oh,
18 volumes, and there's BPRD Hell on Earth, which is another 18 volumes.
Then there's 12 volumes of Hellboy, and there's 10 volumes of Hellboy in Hell. And there's like 3 collections of Lobster Johnson, and then you've got the... It's not Black Hammer, that's a different one.
Sledgehammer 44.
You got Sledgehammer 44, thank you. The new Koshé series. The new Rasputin series. And then Sir Edward Grey Witchfinder. So... Oh, and then the one about the Black Flame. So there's a shitload of Mignolaverse material out there. Oh, and then the one about fucking Victor Frankenstein's monster. How could I forget about that?
Right. Actually, I think isn't there 2 of that now?
If there's 2, I need to go read the second one. Oh, and then there's all of the 1945 Hellboy and the BPRD shit. Jesus. Guy never stops writing.
Like, we could have
the shit that he wrote outside of it. Jesus.
We could have literally an entire podcast of nothing but Mignolaverse.
Yeah, that's Mignolaversity. We already got fucking jumped.
Yeah.
The bandwagon.
Yeah, but we could do it with half the effort and twice the dick jokes.
This is true.
We had quite a few dick jokes today.
They keep drawing them, we keep making them.
Fascinated. You're just obsessed today, Evan, with dicks.
Yeah, I know, dude. I've even got my name in the fucking thing. Related to dicks. Clearly I'm setting a great example here for myself.
So yeah, I think that about wraps us up for the week.
Yeah, pretty much. Let's kill it there.
Send me your dick jokes at Twitter at Hellboy is my hero.
Or just send him your dick. I mean, either way.
No. No.
He says slide into his DM and send him dick pics.
Yeah, slide in really slowly and use lots of lube, please.
And if after a while he doesn't answer you, just be sure to respond later on saying, I showed you my dick, answer me.
Well, we'll see y'all next week for some more Hellboy. Hey, this is Jason. This here to say, if you enjoyed the show, spread it around on social media, and follow our social media presences on Facebook and Twitter, both at graded.5. Just spell the whole thing out. Also, support your local comic shop and the Comic Book Legal Defense Fund. If you don't know where your local comic shop is, there are sites like findacomicshop.com, and that'll help you find it. Well, we hope you enjoyed the show, and we'll catch you next time.